Greetings and salutations. This is BIGJXXX here. I want y'all to check the links below because it's going to provide references to what I'm talking about. Now, lettuce we trust. That title of this live stream, or this video rather, demonstrates a issue in the United Kingdom. In lettuce we trust. In lettuce we trust, it exposes something that nobody else don't want to talk about. That many people in British society, British media, I should say, don't want to talk about or try to sideskip it. Well, Big J, what you talking about? Well, the lettuce is referring to a joke about Liz Truss, the current prime minister who is resigning after this week. She only been there in office since the Queen, y'all's late Queen, have appointed her 2 days before her death as prime minister. I want to say around September the 6th, 2022, after winning the Conservative leadership. And people say, well, because of her policies, she won't last long in office because a leaf of lettuce will last longer than Liz Truss. And 45, 50 days later, she's no longer the prime minister. But how did she become prime minister? And no, this has nothing to do with Liz Truss, the person, nor her as a government official. But it's how she was elected is the problem, and possibly why she was elected. When Boris Johnson resigned, and let me say this right now, before I go deep and hard in the paint, I know that I am an American citizen. I know that this doesn't really concern me as an American, but however, as a person who follows British politics, Canadian politics, in some other in parts of other countries, this kind of intrigues me about how disastrous that as a Western society as a whole, how our democracy is being hanging on a thread. How our democracy is hanging on a thread. It's hanging on a thread because for a lot of main reasons, but this is going to be one of them. Well, when Boris Johnson resigned during the Queen's Jubilee, the late Queen's Jubilee, and there was a 6 week campaign during I want to say between April and September. There have been talks of rumblings of finding a new person to lead the Conservative Party. Well, the two major candidates that about 16 people enter into the fray, only 2 came out on top. The 2 of them came out on top was Liz Truss, a young, 40-something-year-old Caucasian woman. Then Richard Sunak. Sunak is Indian or Pakistan. I want to say the Desi race. and he was the most popular among the parliamentarians in within the parliament, because he was the treasurer, or what our equivalent of the Secretary of Treasury under Boris Johnson. And there was a problem because he kept winning these rounds, these election rounds, up until the last round. Because even though him and Liz Truss was the top two, he was more popular among the within inside the British Parliament. But somebody said something on, I want to say it was one YouTube video. It was these two YouTube videos, channels rather, that I watch. One of them is TDR LR News, which is based in the UK, and then there's Professor Wilson, Tim Wilson. So I'm watching the how the drama unfold, and the machinations within the Conservative Party, and the scandal that Boris Johnson, over his issues with the him not abiding by the same laws during the lockdown, the pandemic. But I noticed something though. Somebody else said something in both of their comment sections, and somebody said, "Well, do you really think that the Conservative Party of the United Kingdom are going to elect a person who is not Caucasian?" And I'm sitting there, and when I think about it, I said, really? Because the thing was, at the end result of it, we have a prime minister, or y'all have a prime minister, I'm sorry. Y'all had a prime minister whose policies has not been tested, whose policies has been dead wrong, and a lot of policies she's been making U-turns after U-turns because every one of her policy items was very, very, very unpopular, especially within her own party. Whereas Sunak is popular inside the parliamentarians who are conservative. So why did Sunak, whose policies can be tested, whose politics is more in line with the overall arching of the British population, how come he lost that election? Well, he was popular, right? Well, during the last round of the election, the people of the overall arch, everybody who was a registered conservative voted. Somehow the person who had 70% to somebody else's 30% end up being the loser. If I'm actually defeating, no, let's put this in terms like this. If there's a person who is winning at 70% to somebody's 30%, I'm just doing this as hypothetical, and at the last round, it suddenly reverses. So we got to start asking the question. And this is what the British people need to start asking. And this is something I gotta say, I think though, in my opinion, I think Meghan Markle does have a point. I think she has a point about the racism within British society. Now, I'm not here to back Meghan Markle, but she does have a point. Because why would Sunak had all the right policies, had all the right, it was popular among across the board, was denied the seat that he was going to have. The seat that was set right there on his lap, and y'all took it. They took it. So, and this just shows how bigoted and racist British society is, just like over here in the United States. Or some of the institutions, I should say. I ain't gonna call a whole country racist, but some of the institutions are. I find it troubling that you're willing for people to destroy their own economy just because you don't want that brown faced man to be the leader of the British government and stand side by side and be the representative between the king and the people, the subjects of the British Commonwealth. I find that odd. But anyway, that's just my assessment. I could be wrong because I'm American, and plus though I'm planning on going to the UK within the next year or so. Soon as I get my affairs in order. So anyway, like, share, and subscribe. Tell me what you think about it, because I think that's kind of fishy on how Sunak lost, and they risk destroying a first world country economically because you don't want that brown face in office. That really, the logic of that. Anyway, I'm out, y'all. Peace.